Imagine this. You're walking down a busy street surrounded by people. It's just another day, right? But what if I told you that for over 30,000 women in India, every year this ordinary day might turn or turns into a nightmare? What if I told you that despite decades of legal reforms, countless protests and public outcry, those nightmares just keep happening? Today, we are not just asking why. We are demanding answers in this video. Let's start talking about the most recent outrage, the brutal rape and murder of a postgraduate trainee doctor at the Kolkata's R.G. Kar Medical College. This isn't just another case, it's a glaring reminder that despite all our legal reforms, we are still struggling to protect women in this country. And while it's easy to blame the law or the legal system, the problem is far more complex. But we'll get to that. First, let's take a look at how rape laws have evolved in this country through time. The term rape was introduced into the Indian Penal Code way back in 1860 by Thomas Babington Macaulay, who designed this Indian Penal Code for us in the British times. And guess what? This definition was as limited as it could be: non-consensual penovaginal intercourse. No room for the nature or gravity of the offense, and certainly no room for the dignity of the survivor. It took over a century and a lot of public outrage for any significant change to be made to this law. On 26 March 1972, a 14-year-old Adivasi girl named Mathura was gang raped by police officers in a police station, no less. The trial court initially acquitted the officers because apparently the young girl under the police custody couldn't possibly be telling the truth, right? The Bombay High Court later convicted them, but hold your applause, the Supreme Court overturned this conviction. Why? Because there was no injuries on Mathura's body and she didn't cry out for help, so obviously she must have consented. Yes, you heard that right. The Supreme Court of India decided that because Mathura didn't scream or show any injuries, she was a willing participant. The verdict sparked widespread outrage. People were rightly furious, but here's the kicker. Instead of just throwing out the ridiculous judgment, the legal system introduced amendments that made things slightly better. A rebuttal presumption in favor of the survivor was added, custodial rape was recognized as a distinct offense, and the burden of proof shifted to the accused. Small victories. But did these changes lead to a drop in the rape cases? Not at all. Between 1983 and 1984, rape cases actually increased by 12.1%. It's almost like tweaking laws without addressing the underlying societal rot doesn't really solve the problem. I mean, who would have thought? Fast forward to 1996, the Supreme Court, perhaps feeling a little guilty about its past judgment, delivered a landmark ruling in the case of State of Punjab versus Gurmeet Singh. The court said that if the evidence of the prosecutrix inspires confidence, it must be relied upon without seeking collaboration in material particulars. In plain English, this means that if survivors' testimony is believable, we shouldn't need another evidence to convict. Sounds good, right? Yet, the problem persists in our country. Then came the famously infamous Nirbhaya case in December 2012, a brutal gang rape that shocked the nation and the entire world. The public's rage was palpable. There were widespread protests, debates, and a lot of anger. The government responded to it by setting up the Justice Verma Committee, which to its credit did a thorough job. The definition of rape was expanded, new sexual offences were introduced, and a mandatory minimum sentence of 7 years for rape was established. But guess what? Despite these tougher laws, rape cases continue to rise in India from 24,157 in 2012 to 34,530 in 2014. That's a 43% increase in just 2 years. Clearly, the problem is not with the laws, it's with how they're implemented, and more importantly, with the societal attitudes that allow such crimes to happen in the first place. Let's talk about some more recent cases: the Unnao rape case in 2017, the Kathua rape case in 2018, the Hathras rape case in 2020, and the R.G. Kar case. Each of these cases sparked outrage, led to protests, and resulted in amendments to the law. But despite these changes, the violence continues. And do you know why? Because our legal system is still deeply entrenched in the same patriarchal values that led to these horrific judgments in the first place. Let's get into the nitty-gritties of why these legal amendments might actually be counterproductive. Legal scholars analyzed 1,635 rape judgments from 2013 to 2018 and found that the mandatory minimum sentence intended to be a deterrent might actually be making things worse, because judges who were already biased by sexist stereotypes might now be more hesitant to convict at all, knowing that a conviction comes with a mandatory 7-year sentence. Brilliant, isn't it? We are handing down harsher sentences, which in turn is making some judges more reluctant and calcitrant to convict. It's almost as if Law itself isn't enough if people interpreting it don't really believe in justice for women and, of course, dignity for women in the country. Let's not forget how the behavior of the survivor is still scrutinized to absurd lengths. Did she cry out for help? Did she sustain injuries? Was she wearing something provocative? Did she dare to sleep after the assault? It's almost like we are more interested in putting the survivor on trial than the perpetrator. The harsh reality is that our legal system mirrors societal attitudes. Until society learns to respect women and the agency, no legal amendment, no law, no matter how stringent it is, will ever truly protect women. Instead of molding women into perfect victims, how about we start holding perpetrators accountable? Revolutionary thought, right? So where does that leave us? Should we throw our hands up and accept that nothing will change? Absolutely not. But we need to be realistic about what legal reforms can or cannot do. They can set the framework, they can establish penalties, but they cannot change the mindset of the society that still in many ways views women as second-class citizens. What we need is a complete overhaul, not just of our laws but also of the attitudes that underpin them. We need to stop blaming victims and start holding perpetrators accountable. We need a legal system that doesn't just react to public outrage but proactively protects the rights and dignity of every individual in this country. And more importantly, we need to keep this conversation going. It's not enough to be outraged after each new case. We need to demand consistent, meaningful action. Until then, let's keep holding those in power accountable and let's never stop fighting for justice. Also, there's one more important thing called marital rape, which is still not precisely spoken about or perhaps into the legal books in the right way. Do you want us to talk about it? Write us in the comment section. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into India's legal system. And as always, stay informed, stay critical, and keep questioning. Thanks.